How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 1IQ Sports Talk channel. I am Brendan, and today I will be going over the Chicago Bears game recap against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Bears ended up going into London and beating the Jaguars 35-16 in what was yet another dominating game all around, from the special teams to the offense and the defense. This was just another game that you just kind of sit back and go, yeah, this is kind of exactly what we wanted as Bears fans. Kind of going into the season, these were some of the games that we expected to see. Again, last week we beat the Carolina Panthers. This week we beat the Jacksonville Jaguars pretty badly. Again, I said this in last week's video, so if you haven't watched it, make sure to go watch that video and just make sure to check out all the videos that come out because we make some pretty fun, entertaining stuff here. But ultimately, again, I said that last week against the Panthers. They didn't beat a stellar team, but you know what they did do is they beat the brakes off of a bad team. That's what good teams do. Good teams don't just barely beat bad teams, they beat the ever loving crap out of them. That's what they did against the Panthers. The Jags are not a good team. The Bears beat the crap out of them. I still don't think the Bears have allowed more than 20 points in a single game yet this season. As I just take a look at this, because again, the Jags only managed to score 16 points. So looking at this, they allowed 17 against the Texans, 19 against the Titans, then the Texans 19, 21 against the Colts, 18 against the Rams, 10 against the Panthers, and 16 against the Jaguars. So again, only allowing it once out of the 6 games that you've played is just so massively impressive. But I want to start today with the offense. And looking at this offense, got off to a little bit of a slow start, 2 3 and outs, which was kind of disappointing to say the least. That has kind of still been the biggest negative with this Bears offense thus far this season, is that they still struggle to get out of the gates right away. But they adjust as the game continues to go on, and they continue to get better and better and better. And last week we thought Caleb Williams had his best game as a pro. He topped it this week. And you just look at it and go, man, like every single week it has been the conversation of he just keeps getting better. That is what number one draft picks should be doing. We didn't see that with Bryce Young. He didn't get better every single week. Trevor Lawrence, I don't even know what to say about him, but he has been so demonstrably under what we expected him to be. I don't know if we would call him a bust because he's had some level of success in the NFL, but I would say he has been extremely disappointed, and he hasn't been that guy that he was supposed to be off of being the number one pick in the draft. And we are seeing that from Caleb. We're seeing that from him going week in, week out, just getting better. Again, week one against the Titans, first NFL game, can't really expect a ton from him in that one. Then he goes up against the Texans, gets beat up to hell in that one, goes up against the Colts and, starts to show a little bit of promise and goes like, okay, this is what we expected. And then it's just been growing. The Rams game, he was good. Then the Panthers game, he was really good. And in this game, I'd probably say he was, if not one of, if he wasn't one of the best quarterbacks, if he wasn't the best quarterback this week, he was one of the best quarterbacks, I would have to say. Like, if you were to chart, like, top 3 quarterbacks, I think you would probably put him into that category this week because he's been that good. And I saw a thing of where he was, like, ever since week 3, he's in the top 10 of passing categories in every single statistic, whether it's passing yards, completion percentage. I think it was on Breakfast Ball that I saw it. But passing touchdowns, non-turnover worthy plays, like, he has just been good. DeAndre Swift, again, played exactly like Matt Forte. As long as the Bears continue to allow him to play like Matt Forte, where he's a threat out of the backfield and he can also be a threat running the ball, I'm perfectly happy. Just continue to do that. No changes right there whatsoever. Roschon Johnson didn't have himself as many carries as I would have liked to see from him in that one, but DeAndre Swift was moving the ball, and frankly, Caleb, the 4 rushes for 56 yards, that's something that you like to see. You don't want to see that every game from him, but when he has the opportunity to do that, sure, allow him to do that. I think I only saw one designed run for Caleb. Again, he's not a running quarterback. He is a quarterback with the ability to run. But, you know, we saw Justin Fields last year average, I think, what was it, like 10 rushes a game type situation, if not more. If we have Caleb doing less than 5 per game and he can put up, 20 plus yards, I think as Bears fans, we should all be pretty happy with that. Because again, it's not his game. He looked really poised and really comfortable throwing the ball and manipulating that bad Jacksonville defense. Again, it was a bad defense. It's a bad team. But these are the things you are supposed to do. Cole Kmet, I think you got to give him the game ball. As much as Caleb played so well in that game, you have to give Cole Kmet the game ball because, again, 5 catches, 70 yards, 2 TDs, and then he's also doing the long snapping in this game where he had a total of 6 snaps as a long snapper in relief to the injured long snapper who I think it's John Daly. I could be wrong in that one. Not really important. It's a long snapper to say the least. It's not Patrick Scales. He's been out. I think he's going to be out for the entire year. He's not the normal guy, but the fact that Cole Kmet went in there and did that is a really impressive thing. And the fact that he did it well, it's not like he went in there and there was a situation where you were like, oh, okay. Like, again, that first snap, everyone's kind of like biting their tongue, going, okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, okay, okay. And, oh, it went fine. And then the next time you're like, okay, you got lucky on the first one. Let's see if you can replicate it. No, he did it again. And then again and again and again. There was maybe one snap that was a little bit higher than I would like to see, but again, he's not a long snapper. He's a tight end who just happens to be the emergency long snapper, and he did it well. And I don't think the Bears are going to keep him as a long snapper. They're certainly going to keep him as the emergency long snapper. That's for damn sure. But he, without a doubt, has to take the crown in this game. He gets player of the game without a doubt. Even in the video of the Bears posted on social medias, like they talked about him getting the player of the game just from Flus. So rightfully so. Keenan Allen finally had his, I wouldn't necessarily say breakout game, but he kind of showed up in this one again. He had the 5 catches, 41 yards, and 2 TDs. He had that excellent toe touchdown catch. I believe that was that wasn't in the second. No, I think it was in the fourth quarter. It was in the second half of the game when he ultimately got that one, and it was really good to see that he's starting to get into the game a little bit more. Pretty much kind of what you're seeing from this offense is not like the Bears have 3 wide receivers at any given day are going to have their day because we've seen a big game from DJ Moore a couple times. We've seen a big game from Rome. Now we've technically seen a big game from Keenan Allen. So every defensive coordinator that's looking at this is going to have to look at this Bears offense and go, any one of these guys, like we can't just cover one guy and we can't be worried about one guy. Yeah, sure, we're going to be mostly worried about DJ Moore because he really is the superstar #1 wide receiver of this team. And we still have to be worried about Keenan Allen because he could burn us at any given game. And then Rome Odunze, people forget he's a top 10 pick as a wide receiver. He just so happens to not be the #1 weapon. If he was a #1 weapon on a lot of teams, he would probably be getting more targets and carries, but there's so many mouths to feed. But then you also now have to factor in Cole Kmet because if he continues to go down this path, he is going, like I just read on Twitter, it was going to be something like he's going to get around like 860 receiving yards. I can't remember the amount of TDs, but also like 76 catches he's projected to at the current moment. That's a really good season from a tight end. And he continues to show that. I think I've always said Cole Kmet coming into this year was a top 10 tight end, and he's really proving it to be that way. Taking a look here at the offensive line. Again, they're showing small improvements every single week. Again, the 3 sacks given up. Would Caleb put the blame on him for some of the sacks? Probably, but there was, ultimately, I still think this is an offensive line that needs massive, massive improvements. And there'll be a video coming out a little bit later of a way that I ultimately think the Bears could do and fixing that. So make sure to, stick around and kind of stay focused on when that's potentially going to be coming out, because I think it's going to be a pretty good video. But the offensive line again gave up the 3 sacks, only 5 yards given up on those 3 sacks. So ultimately, I don't think Jacksonville has that great of a edge rusher or a defensive line or just a defense in general. Again, Josh Allen, he's a formidable, edge rusher. And just looking at this game, Josh Hines Allen is what he's going by now. He only had a half of a sack in this game. So ultimately, I'm going to look at this and go, it's pretty okay. No, taking a look here at the Bears defense. Again, another stellar day from this defense. And again, a defense that had a lot of backups in the secondary. Tyreek Stevenson wasn't in there. Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon got hurt in this game. Jaquan Brisker didn't even make the trip. So it was pretty much just Jalen Johnson was kind of the only real consistent guy that we had back there. Yes, Kevin Byard was still out there healthy, and that's very, very big, but he kind of hasn't been that consistent guy that we've seen with the Bears for these last couple years, kind of like what we saw from Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. Those guys have all been there with our Jalen Johnson, but this defense still looked good. That I think, again, I've said this all year long, the Bears have the best secondary group in the league. That goes with its starting corners, that also goes for their backup corners, because pretty much every single one of the corners on this team would start at some capacity for most teams in the NFL. Like, a lot of the Bears backups would start on most teams as a corner. They just happen to be backups for the Chicago Bears because that's how good this cornerback room is and the secondary room is. And it's really, really fun to see. And taking a look at the D line, Demarcus Walker had himself a sack. Montez Sweat had half a sack. So it's nice to see him get a little bit more, because he was left pretty quiet against the Panthers, which I was kind of disappointed about. So it was good to see him get a little bit more involved with that. I know there was a thing where Montez Sweat was saying, I think it might have been either Keenan Allen or DJ Moore, where he was going, I need you guys to stop converting on those third downs. I really want to go out there and get a sack. So, he's kind of itching to kind of get after that and get some of those numbers, which would be really nice to see, because I do think his numbers have kind of been a little bit underwhelming from what I was hoping from him this year, but still, nonetheless, like, he is a dominant edge rusher, and he has been pretty good. I still think the rush defense needs to be a little bit better. You know what? Actually, that's a lie. I think the rush defense was much better this week. The Jags couldn't get anything going. Again, Trevor Lawrence was able to kind of pick it up just a little bit in the passing yards because of that little bit of a weaker secondary. And then I'm just looking, Josh Blackwell had his first interception of the year. Bears defense, they know how to get the ball out of the other team's hand. There was a play where there was a fumble that was overturned. I don't think it should have been overturned. I forget. I think it was Tremaine Edmonds who ultimately punched it out of one of their running backs' hands. But boy, oh boy, this team just gets the ball out of their hands, man. And it is like this defense, they look to take the ball away, and it is so much fun to watch. Like, they are impressive at getting the ball away. And honestly, it is really, really fun. The one player on the defense that I kind of a little bit sad that I didn't see a little bit more of was Gervon Dexter, who has been so good throughout this year, that to not kind of hear his name this week was kind of almost a little bit of a shock. But ultimately, there isn't really too many notes that I have in this game. It was just a good win from top to bottom. It was a game where the Bears could basically bring in their backups in the fourth quarter. Jalen Johnson talked about it last week, where he said that was the first time since college that the backups were brought into the game because the offense was so far ahead and the game was so far out of reach for the other team to come back. And he's like, I'll take more of those. And the Bears offense was like, sure, we're happy to give that to you for a second week. And yeah, again, just top to bottom, beating the Jaguars, it shouldn't necessarily be an achievement right now. It should be one of those things where that's the standard. When you're like good teams, I said it earlier, good teams beat bad teams and they don't beat them barely, they beat them badly. Like they beat him to the point of where it's like stop, he's already dead. And the Bears have shown that 2 weeks in a row they can beat bad teams and beat them badly. And that's what good teams do. And if you've watched the channel for the last few years and you've heard my takes on the Bears, you know that I can be a little bit cynical from time to time, going, I don't necessarily trust this team when they have success because of how many times they've had success and then immediately thrown it away the year next. But this year kind of has that different feeling. I'm not willing to fully take away my skepticism and move out of, Worryville, because I still think I'm there. Again, when you have a team that has broken you as much as this team has broken me over the years, you kind of just sit in this spot and don't allow yourself to leave until they lift the Lombardi trophy. And even then, I'll probably still find ways to worry after that, momentary moment of glory. But yeah, this team all around top win from top to bottom. Next week they're going into a bye. They allow themselves to get fully rested up after traveling back from London. It allows them to get healthy because again, getting Jaquan Brisker a week off, getting Kyler Gordon a week off, getting Tyreek Stevenson a week off, that allows the secondary to get healthy. Any ailments from pretty much anything that they have here at the moment, injury wise, they are going to allow guys to get healthy, which is going to be very, very big game where they face off against the Washington Commanders in what I think is probably going to be the game of the first half for the Bears. And I know it's a really kind of weird way to phrase it, but this is like, I think there's going to be a game of the first half of the season where people are going to sit back and really kind of look at this and go, that was the game that really kind of told us what this team is capable of being. And then there's going to be a game in the second half of going, yeah, this is also a game that kind of tells us what we need to know. And that one's going to be really interesting. It got flexed up into like the 3 or the 2:25 time slot, so it's kind of like the late game. It's the last game before the prime time Sunday night game, which again, I was kind of shocked that even Sunday Night Football didn't try to get that game flexed in. And if I just take a look and see who the actual flexed game is, or who the Sunday Night Football is in week 8, as I just scroll through. So the Sunday night game is the Cowboys and 49ers. I kind of sit back and I go, the Bears Commanders would be a much, much better game to watch than the Cowboys 49ers on primetime because it's a better story. You have the 49ers who've had a little bit of a slow start to the year but are slowly starting to figure things out versus the Cowboys just being a depressing mess. Yes, yet again, you have two big markets here in Chicago and Washington with two young quarterbacks that are playing really, really well, that are fighting each other for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. I truly think that game will be who decides Offensive Rookie of the Year if both of these guys continue to play kind of like they're playing. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm terrified to watch it, but that's it for this video, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm Brendan Dahl. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video as it really helps out. But till next time, peace.